Hey everybody, Jimmy here with the Triple C Collective for Sci-Fi Sunday. Today, going to be jumping into Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6. Uh, From the Desert Comes a Stranger is the title of this episode. Let's see. This episode was, oh man, this is really good. It's a goodie. It's a good one. Um, this episode, before I jump into it, excuse me. This episode was really great. It was a beautiful mix of basically everything that we've gotten in its entirety from Star Wars that we would call peak. It is peak George Lucas stuff. It is peak George Lucas and Dave Filoni, and it is peak George Lucas. I'm sorry, what George Lucas inspired Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to do. What they've got going on here. In like Mandalorian and in this time area, the time frame in between after Return of the Jedi before The Force Awakens. It's great. I love it. It's been a beautiful little like mix of it, and it's just been awesome. Uh, so this episode opens in Mos Pelgo, which we know that Cobb Vanth is the marshal over. He gave up his his armor up to the Mandalorian after the Mandalorian helped with the Krayt Dragon and all of that with the Tusken Raiders in season 2, which eventually is what leads Boba Fett to go find Din and Grogu and all of them. Watch the Mandalorian, awesome. Sorry for those spoilers, but I'm here to talk about the show and everything, so I guess spoilers come with the territory of it, and I guess it's expected that you would have seen the shows that preface Book of Boba Fett. Beside the point. The Pikes are doing business in Mos Pelgo. We've got Cobb Vanth showing up and basically laying down his law, saying that, like, I can chalk this up to you guys just not knowing like where you were, getting lost in the desert, take your credits back with you, leave the chest, and, just go on your way. There's, of course, a shootout. Cobb Vanth kills all the Pikes but one of them, lets the one go with the credits. He's like, the Pike mumbles, like, that chest is worth more than the town. The chest of spice is worth more than the town of Mos Pelgo. So we get that. It was really great to see Timothy Olyphant come back again. He's wonderful. It was really weird because, like, when we're first introduced to Timothy Olyphant and all of that in Mos Pelgo in season 2 of Mandalorian, like, he does have Boba Fett's armor and stuff. So it's just different, like, seeing the passage of time with him now from like season 2 and how he's running Mos Pelgo now. His interaction with the Pikes are really great because we've really only seen Boba Fett kind of interact with the Pikes, and that was originally based on, like, with the Tusken Raiders on their behalf and everything like that that we saw in earlier episodes. And so it was really interesting to see this different. I don't know. Like, I'm interested in seeing more about the Pikes because we really don't know much about them. So, like, again, seeing more interactions with them, how they're operating, like, how they kind of, like, think and, like, what their, like, main goals are aside from, like, clearly just trying to sell spice and continue that trade throughout the entire galaxy. Excuse me. Or at least the entire Outer Rim right now. So we get all of that, and then Cobb Vanth again takes the chest. He actually knocks it over and just lets it spill out into the desert, into the wind and stuff. After the Pike leaves with his with the credits, going back to his bosses saying, like, don't sell it here in Mos Pelgo, and Tatooine is, off limits to it and everything like that. Then we get the title card where we get the from the desert comes a stranger. I love it. I love the music in it for the title sequence here. It's great. I just love Book of Boba Fett. It's been so cool. Despite last week and despite last week's episode, like clear, very big, like divergence from like Book of Boba Fett and everything, really just kind of catching us up where like the Mandalorian is and everything like that. But now we get the Mandalorian's point or his story continuing from last week's episode, and where he's like, before I help Boba Fett, I gotta go visit a little friend. Obviously Fennec knows who, or at least knows of, like Grogu and everything like that, and how and how Din was traveling with him. So we catch up with him here and his Naboo fighter, and we get to see him land on the planet that Luke is building his temple on. Because that's what happens. He goes here. He meets R2-D2. We see R2-D2. As soon as I saw R2-D2, I was like, no way, this is actually happening. Like, I honestly thought that we weren't going to see any of this really until like Mandalorian season 3. So like I would assume sometime later this year, like November, December. I mean, hell, it could be even like 2023, like early 2023. But I don't know. And so, like, this was where this was really great. I honestly really didn't think that we would see anything of, like, because once we get here, like, we see the Mandalorian. He arrives. We see R2-D2. Like I said, it's great. R2-D2 takes him to where these spider-like robots are building what is Luke's temple. I mean, at this point, we haven't really seen Luke's temple like really operating. We've seen it burning in like flashbacks and stuff in the Skywalker saga in the sequel trilogy, but we don't really see like the building or like it having life. We see it burning and basically in ashes is what we saw. So it was really cool to see that. It was really great. Like I loved it. It was so great. And then we get the Mandalorian and R2-D2 going back and forth. Mandalorian's like, I'm here to see the kid, Grogu. Luke's training him. Like, what up, dude? Like, I'm just trying to see my boy. And R2 basically tells one of the spider droids to build a bench for the Mandalorian to let him wait. And R2-D2 just powers himself off. And we get an awesome little bit of the Mandalorian Din Djarin just like, is anyone around? Is anyone alive? And like it's a great little like bit. I loved it. It was so awesome. Then we cut to like the true shock of the episode for me. Luke, we come into Luke training Grogu, which was awesome. It's so cool. You saw it. Like we have Luke training Grogu. We see the Jedi Master now training and starting his school, and it's so cool. At this point, because like as we have seen with Grogu, he is able to communicate like basically telepathically. Through the Force. If like people are connected to the Force and everything, that's how he's able to that is how he's able to communicate. That's how Ahsoka was able to communicate with Grogu, find out that Grogu's name, and like us actually get his name and stuff in season 2 of Mandalorian in the episode The Jedi. So all of that is really great. This has been awesome. I honestly didn't think we'd be seeing this until season 3 of Mandalorian. I like So like when I saw this, I was out of my mind. I was beside myself. I was like, oh my god. Um, However, with all of this said, I did kind of miss Boba Fett a little bit and trying to figure out, well, what's going on back home. I felt that we've spent a lot of time away from him, but like I am also overjoyed with what I am seeing here because it's great. We see Luke, we see Grogu, we see Luke training Grogu, as I've said like 3 different times here. I can stop repeating myself. But Grogu is getting distracted by a frog, as we know. I mean, frogs are a delicacy to Grogu. He loves the frogs, loves them frog legs. And so, so he sees a frog like ribbit, ribbit, ribbit hopping around, and Grogu stops the frog with the force and like gets ready to start eating it as the frogs kind of starts to ribbit a little bit like faster and faster. Luke stops Grogu, distracts Grogu. The frog drops and then hops away. Luke then takes his Luke then uses the Force and shows Grogu that like you can find many frogs with the Force, and like kind of like tells him like by showing him, leads by example in that sense. And it's wild, it's awesome. And then they continue on like walking through the Force, continuing on the training. We hear Luke talk about Yoda. Like I wasn't necessarily, again, like all of this is so crazy. And like I said at the beginning, like we're getting like this is like we're really living in the world that Filoni and like Jon Favreau have like built for us so far, up until this point of the episode. But like now what we see after this of like talking about Yoda, size matters not. He didn't talk like how I am talking. He spoke in riddles. Like, Luke is really trying to find out from Grogu what like how does he talk? How does he can he speak like actual words? Because Grogu is clearly from the same species as Yoda. So there is some familiarity there to some degree. That's why he brings up Yoda to like try and see if they can make that connection. He talks like Yoda and like gives those words and those like iconic phrases and stuff to him, to see if that like triggers anything. Because like as we know, like he was a youngling at the temple, and we get this here. We get Luke then asking like because he's asking about like how Grogu can speak or doesn't really like speak right now, English, but like can communicate telepathically via the Force through the living things and connecting us all. And it's great. Like this is just so interesting to me. Like this idea of how they're of like Luke working this out with Grogu and like trying to help him figure out to like communicate and stuff, to obviously be able to start communicating with like non-Force users, which there are more of than like Force users or Force capable people, or at least that's kind of what we're led to believe. But I don't know always, because beside the point. So Luke helps him helps Grogu remember and like open up, I guess like blocked or repressed memories. And we get a Grogu flashback and he asks, "Are you ready to remember?" And I wasn't ready to remember. Like, oh my god, this was heavy. We see Grogu like just being all scared and big-eyed and seeing the three Jedi that were protecting him get taken out by the Clone War, very Clone War looking, animated Clone War looking stormtroopers executing Order 66. And oh man, it's harrowing. It's really sad. It's really sad. Um, but it was really sad. But like it did so much for like the character of Grogu and like just I don't know of like I've always loved everybody loves Grogu, but like now we're like, oh god, this is like like we find out like his terrible tragedy, like we see it or see his like memory of it. Wild stuff. Like it was heartbreaking. I wasn't ready for it. But then we get Luke Luke and after Grogu comes back from like his like daydream, basically wave come over him of seeing like the Jedi Temple and the Order of 66 being executed. We get Luke and Grogu now sitting by like a lake, and Luke is like, thanks for joining us, or thanks for coming back, nice to see you back with us. And Luke is talking about how the world is a dangerous place, but Luke is going to excuse me, Luke is going to teach Grogu how to protect himself in this dangerous, messed up world. And then we get, holy cow, we get Ahsoka. Dave Filoni, what are you doing to me? Because Dave Filoni directed this, and he wrote it with Jon Favreau, who's written every single episode by himself so far. What do you do? What? First you give us Luke and Grogu training. Then you give us Ahsoka coming to talk with the Mandalorian. And that's what we get here. Like, we get Ahsoka coming to talk with the Mandalorian, and basically, we find out that that's why R2 brought the Din, the Mandalorian, to the school that is currently being built, as opposed to directly to Grogu, because that's what he was supposed to do, or R2 was supposed to do, or has been told, and that's why he shows up where Ahsoka is, and Ahsoka says, R2 brought you to me instead, so that you can, that I can help you. I can, we can figure out what you need. And Din's like, I want to see Grogu. I have a gift for him. I'm really determined about giving him this gift. He's a Mandalorian Foundling. This belongs to him by right. And then we get them leaving from like the school, walking through the forest again a little bit. We get we get this really great bit of like leading up to basically Ahsoka talking to Din Djarin and basically saying like, there's Grogu. We see him like there. Ahsoka and the Mandalorian are popping out of the bamboo forest, and we see Luke and Grogu in the distance underneath a tree training where we last saw them together. And she's like, they're right there, and this is where he's like, but this is his gift. This is a gift for him. It's his by right, by being a Mandalorian Foundling. And Ahsoka then poses the question, well, what if he is now a Padawan? And, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, he reiterates that it's still his. He still deserves it. It's still his by, right. So, I don't have a right to keep this from him. He deserves it. And Ahsoka's like, okay, I see it's important that like we give him this gift. So I will make sure I will deliver this personally. But you wanting to see him so badly, is it because you want to make sure that he's safe? Like, is it really about him, or is it about making you feel better? And she brings up the idea that Grogu has a strong affection to you, Din, and Grogu, he needs to train with Luke. He needs to like walk away from these attachments for a little bit, which is really funny, or not funny, but it is like complete, as we found out, like literally verbatim from the Mandalorian himself last episode, that goes directly against like what they believe. We also found out about Vizsla, ancestor, being a Jedi and a Mandalorian. So I mean that it makes the most sense that Grogu should be that. He's being trained by Luke. He was a foundling by Din Djarin. He should be the next logical one to be able to balance them both. We also get Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, asking Ahsoka, like, why did you let Luke train Grogu as opposed to yourself? Like, why? Like, if you're a Jedi, why didn't you just train him? And she actually says, it wasn't my choice. You see, I don't control people like that or anything. Like, Grogu chose to be trained by Luke and to go with Luke. So that was awesome. That was awesome to hear. It was so good. And Din Djarin... Oh, sorry. One other thing Din Djarin says about the armor is that it's meant to protect him. Either way, whether he is a foundling or a Padawan, it is meant to protect him. He should have it. And then Din Djarin doesn't, like, give in completely to Ahsoka, but, like, he listens to Ahsoka and he leaves. But Grogu sees him leave. And I think this is where Luke starts feeling some, like... Luke felt the attachment of Grogu to the Mandalorian. Now he's seeing it some more because the Mandalorian came back. But we jump into we see the pain in like Grogu kind of reaching for the Mandalorian as the Mandalorian flies off in his retrofitted, not even retrofitted, revamped Naboo starfighter, and it is awesome. It is so good. This is great. And this leads to arguably my like favorite part maybe of this episode, is where we get the real love and the real callback to George Lucas and the original trilogy. Here is we get the Grogu training part 2, as I'm calling it in my notes. And we get Luke trying to have Grogu learn how to jump, which the first time I saw it, I was like, why is he having him learn how to like jump and try and do flips and stuff? Like, it wasn't making sense until I remembered what Dave Filoni has done every step of the way from Clone Wars, to Mandalorian, to Rebels, to The Bad Batch. Is that the prequel trilogy is very important to Star Wars. So Yoda is jumping and flipping around all over that fight with Count Dooku. And that, like, that's where that comes from. Is, George Lucas doing that in the prequel trilogy and stuff, and Dave Filoni being like, you know what, everyone is wrong about the prequel trilogy. It is good, it is valid, and it is important to Star Wars. Um, and he continually pulls from things like that and weaves it into this new stuff. Like him and it's great. Like it's amazing what they do here. We also get, of course, we get Luke saying, "You're trying too hard. There is no try. There's only do." Beautiful Yoda line. Again, from Empire now. The like where we see Luke's training with Yoda. And then we get a complete like redone shot just in the new planet of Luke running with Grogu on his back, just like Luke running with Yoda on his back on Dagobah. It's beautiful. It's so awesome. It's so good, and it's a joy to watch. Like it's so cool, and like I get it. The last two episodes of Book of Boba Fett, up until this point, at least in here, this episode, like at least we were on Tatooine. We saw Mos Pelgo at the beginning of this one, or Pelgo, sorry. But episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett, like we saw Fennec Shand at the end of it. That was really the only connection. Here so far, we have like a couple of minutes. Like there's not much Boba Fett happening in these 2 episodes, but I am not a complainer in that. I am loving it because I just love learning. I just love living in the Star Wars universe. The Star Wars galaxy is probably a better phrase. I just love living here. And so it's great, and I just love all of these little all these stories, little whatever that we're getting here, and it's been so much fun for me to watch Book of Boba Fett, and I'm just a huge fan of it all, and like, it's so great, and we get Luke running with Grogu the same way that he was running with Yoda. We get them climbing up the bamboo trees, talking about the world is in balance, and that the force is is what helps keep the balance. And then we get Grogu trying to actually do like the standing on the log bit, like Luke, use the force, let it flow through you, let you feel it. Then we move from like that like branch thing by like a river to inside the bamboo forest, and Grogu again is balancing on one leg on the bamboo, on like a cut bamboo stump, as Luke is like practicing his lightsaber like moves and everything like that, like practicing strikes, maybe is what it might be called. It's so good. It's amazing. I love it so much. Then we get what I didn't think that we might ever see again, but at this point, like, so you know what? To be fair, I'm talking about how shocked I am and what I've seen so far up until this point in the episode, what I've seen so far up until this point in the season, and I don't know why I am, because there's just so much love of Star Wars and the Star Wars galaxy and everything that's been put before us, like whether it be things from Expanded Universe, the current stuff, and either like the Marvel Comics, or the current running many different books that they have, or or even now like the new Star Wars series that they're doing, like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka series, Acolyte, all of them that are coming down. The Obi-Wan that's supposed to be coming down sometime later this year. I'm just so excited for everything that we're going to be getting and everything that they're doing with Star Wars. It's so much fun. It's so cool. It's so great. I just love it so much. But then we get the training hovering remote ball, as Luke calls it in this episode, the training remote that Luke trained with Obi-Wan, and like the flight suit, like shield blast down in Star Wars in A New Hope. And oh, man, it was so cool. It was so great. Again, we have Luke like telling him like to try and like jump and trying to like work on that, and he says get up, you always get back up. Then he jumps out of the way. Grogu jumps out of the way. That moves into the awesome montage of like Grogu jumping in like the same way that Luke eventually started deflecting, and it's so awesome. It's so good. Again, like I said at the top of like this video, the love that you're seeing to this point of the love of George Lucas, of what he did to Star Wars, the love of what we're getting of like pulling in things from like Clone Wars and all of that stuff with Dave Filoni and George Lucas doing that stuff together in this, and then like everything now that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have been working on in like these TV series, and like them bringing like people like Bryce Dallas Howard and Rick Fukuyama and Deborah Cho and like all of these other fantastic directors and other creatives. Man, it's beautiful. This is what Star Wars should be. This is what you have all these different minds, these different visions that have all been like Star Wars at some point, like ticked a box for me, and I've always remembered it. That's why people are doing this stuff, and that's why like now we're getting such a different creative output of Star Wars things. We're getting we're getting people being paid to make their fan fiction. Like that's what all of this is coming down to. Is Dave Filoni and like Jon Favreau and like everyone at Lucasfilm now like speaking fan films and stuff, and like it's awesome. It's so good. In this episode it only gets better. Like we're like I'm running a little long right now, but like we're only probably about halfway through this episode. But we get, after the jumping montage and Grogu getting through everything, we get Ahsoka and Luke together. Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker. And Anakin Skywalker's Padawan is with his son together. That like, it's amazing. That's so cool. And like it's there. It's on screen. You'll be able to stream, Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus until Disney folds, which will most likely never happen. It's too good. It's so good. It's so awesome. I just like it. It just I like, words cannot describe just how cool it was to see this, and like the importance of seeing this in like the Star Wars universe and stuff, and like the Star Wars galaxy, and Star Wars, man, it just does it for me. I love it so much. It's so much fun, and we get actually really great like Ahsoka and Luke talking, like Luke being like, you know, I don't know about him. I'm not sure if his heart is in it, if he really wants it. And Ahsoka's like, the student will guide the master. And the Mandalorian was here. He brought a gift. And we get Luke asking, will I ever see you again? And it's so reflective from, the original trilogy. And, oh man, I love it. It's so good. It's so awesome. We get Ahsoka being like, may the Force be with you. She walks away. Luke saying it back. Like, we have... We have Ahsoka Tano and Luke Skywalker on screen together. It's important. Like, I can't stress enough like how big that is. And I love it. Side note, I think they made Luke look a lot better in this stuff that we've seen in Book of Boba Fett, as opposed to when we saw him in the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. I think he looked, whatever changes they needed to do or whatever upgrades to technology they did, I think he looked better. Now, all throughout this episode, I thought he was really good. I thought it was all really great. We get then, after that, after Ahsoka leaves Luke, we leave Luke and Grogu as well. We follow the Mandalorian back to Tatooine, meeting up with Boba Fett. Almost gets into a fight with the Gamorrean guard. And then shows up to a meeting that is already, in progress. And it is, we get Fennec laying it out for the mods, Black Chrysanthemum, and, Din Djarin. She says, now that with with Chrysanthemum's experience, and with the Mandalorian Din Djarin's experience, they have muscle to fight, but they don't have enough to win the war yet. They still need that. And this is where the Mandalorian says, I think I might be able to help with that. And this is why we saw Mos Pelgo earlier. Because where does the Mandalorian go to try and find some help? Mos Pelgo. He goes there to, meet with Cobb Vanth, sorry. And see, do the hard thing. It's never easy asking for a favor, but he's asking for a favor. The Pikes are taking over Tatooine with the spice trade. Things are good now, but they won't always be. We're trying to make things good here. We also find out from the bartender that Mos Pelgo has changed their name to Freetown, which is awesome. I love it. It's the wrong name. Freetown now. Wait, what? It's great. It's a great little bit that they put in there. But we get a really good... we also, when the Mandalorian arrives, a deputy shows up, not realizing that it is the Mandalorian Din Djarin, who did before help them fight off the Krayt Dragon and to bring peace with the Tusken Raiders of the land there. So, that is then we get, Cobb Vanth coming out saying, Deputy, calm down, he's good, don't worry about it. We get Cobb Vanth and the Mandalorian talking about the Mandalorian's Naboo starfighter, which was great. They move inside to the bar, have the conversation. That's great, but I don't know, like, they cut off it, like, I love that they expect the audience to remember everything that's happened so far, and they don't go into it. A lot of people would actually show the conversation of the Mandalorian speaking to Cobb Vanth about the events that we have just seen for the previous episodes here. Didn't need it, and they do a great job of just like, so what does that mean? What does that mean to us? Why does that involve us? Like, everything you just said, like, I don't see how that involves us. That means nothing to us. We've got peace here. We don't need to worry about it. Mandalorian's talking about worrying about, like, the spice trade coming in and, like, disrupting it. He's like, as long as I'm alive, we don't need to worry about the spice coming into these parts or these territories. We hear him say, we heard Cobb Vanth say that at the top of the episode. Mandalorian again says, it's not easy. Well, he only says it the one time. It's never easy asking for a favor. And we get, Cobb Vanth, Timothy Oliphant saying, I will see what I can do. Mandalorian gets up. They leave, peacefully, and he goes away. Cobb Vanth then calls a meeting of all fighting-bodied men and women to come to a town hall meeting, and he's going to present the Mandalorian's case of fighting with Boba Fett with them, to see what they should do. Should they join? Should they continue to stay, like, out of it? As the bartender was saying, that sounds like a city folk kind of thing, not something that, like, we need to be worrying ourselves with here. Whereas, like, the families of Mos Espa understood that the Pikes could take over the whole planet, and then that would make things, like, very bad for everybody involved there. And we also get Mandalorian, before he leaves, saying, like, I want you to lead a garrison. And that's about, like, then that's why Cobb Vanth decides to call the town meeting, see if he can actually gather a garrison to go help. We get a stranger arriving. Like, right after Mandalorian leaves, we see a distance. Stranger from the desert. From the desert, stranger comes. The name of the episode. See a shadowy figure in the miragey, like squiggly line, like almost looking like heat or like gas or something, like kind of like just waving across the screen, like, blurring the image a little bit. And as soon as I saw that image, they have a top, they have a hat on. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, no way. No way are they doing this. This character did not just show up here. Wait until the character gets a little bit closer. Cobb Vanth tells the deputy, everybody else, get inside. We got some company here. Take it easy. Let's go inside. I'll take care of this. Deputy's like, I'm not leaving you out here alone. And this deputy just doesn't. I almost wonder if the deputy is actually. Hold on, let me finish this. The stranger shows up as everybody is away and hiding. Cobb Vanth was like, hey, stranger, what's your name? What are you doing about these parts? I'm the marshal here. I'm the law. And they talk about the Mandalorian working for Boba Fett. and they get into it, and it is revealed based on like as the stranger comes close and you see the wrists, you see the whole getup, you see the blue skin. It is the one, the only Cad Bane has entered the live action Star Wars. Holy cow. Is everyone still with me? Because I'm barely still here. This is huge. Like, holy cow. This is insane. Because Cad Bane is a huge bounty hunter, well known, like Fennec Shin and like Boba Fett and like everything like that. Shows up, and the deputy throws off Cobb Vanth. Cobb Vanth gets shot. It's a true 50-50 shot if Timothy Oliphant survives that or not. It's a true 50-50 shot. I don't really know. I think he's dead. I think Timothy Oliphant, Cobb Vanth is like dead from that. The deputy gets shot, and then we get Cad Bane saying, don't fight the Pike Syndicate. As long as the spice keeps a-flowing, nobody will be bothered, and we'll all be able to keep on living the way we are. And so, we will see. You'll see how all that happens, rolls out, because then we go to Madame Garza's place inside Mos Espa. In here, we get two Pikes coming in with their Cantimo. They come in and it's very similar to the one that we saw earlier in the episode with the credits from Cobb Vanth's getaway Pike dude person. And Pikes come in. We're inside, Madame Garza's sanctuary here, and they're approached by a droid for a drink. No, they don't want a drink. They're approached by Madame Garza's yellow and green workers. Do you want your helmets, shined or anything like that? No, they don't. It's all kind of weird. They go report back, to Jessica Biel's. Then we get the Pikes getting up, and the yellow and green workers come back to Madame Garza, Jessica Biel's, and they don't want anything. The Pikes get up. We get a droid saying, "Oh, wait, hold on, you guys left your Cantimo." Huge explosion. Blows up the entire sanctuary. So that was wild. Yeah. That was insane. Then we get we leave Tatooine, come back with Luke and Grogu. Luke and Grogu are sitting across from each other. We have the chainmail, Beskar chainmail that the Mandalorian made for Grogu out in front of Luke. Then there is Luke basically, there's a box to Luke's right, and to his left there is a, how should I say, like a rug, kind of like table runner almost kind of thing in front of Luke as they're kneeling on either side of it. Like Grogu is like here right in front of it, Luke's like right here or whatever, and they're looking at each other. And there's the runner in the middle. It has the Mandalorian's gift, the Beskar chainmail, for protection. On the left and on the right hand side, there is nothing but right off the runner, directly to Luke's right, is a box. And Luke poses the question to Grogu. You can take the Mandalorian, you take this chainmail, go back to the Mandalorian, forsake everything about being a Jedi, learning the ways of the Force and everything like that. Or you can take the lightsaber. You can learn the ways of the Force, but you will never see the Mandalorian again. Because what is a short time to you, Grogu, is a lifetime to somebody else. And it will take you many years of, like, my years, like Luke, human, like non-Grogu, Yoda species, years of, like, how they age and everything. Because as we know, Grogu is actually 50 when he was found by the Mandalorian in season 1, episode 1. So it's wild. And then Luke poses the question, which one do you want? Pulls out Yoda's lightsaber, ignites it, shows it. Same color green that Luke was using in the bamboo forest as well. It's crazy. It's wild. He poses the question. We look in at Grogu, and then the episode cuts. It's over. And we get our credits, and I cannot talk enough about how much I have loved this new Star Wars world that we get now, that we get to live in. It's awesome to be in. I love it so much. I want more of it. And I'm super excited to see the season finale to the Book of Boba Fett next week. So I loved it. It is so good. It is so awesome. There was so much love of everything that George Lucas did in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy here. There's so much love of what Dave Filoni and George Lucas did together here in the Clone Wars and Rebels. And it is amazing to see the love and the continued honor that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have done in this newest chapter of the Star Wars galaxy. And it's been fun. It's been awesome to be a part of. My name's Jimmy Clark. This is the Triple C Collective here on Sci-Fi Sunday for Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6, From the Desert, A Stranger Comes. Nope, I lied. Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger. Thank you for joining us on this Sci-Fi Sunday. You guys stay safe.